Brighton, currently sat 6th in the Premier League. They've been impressive so far with 5 wins, 4 draws and just 2 losses. But we're taking it to the next level. The mission? Win as many trophies as possible, using only youth players. And luckily for us, Brighton boasts one of the best systems in the game. We've got an incredible roster of young talents including Minte, Evan Ferguson, Jack Hinchelswood, Bonanate, Valentin Barco and many more future stars. It's time to see if we can turn this team of promising youngsters into a trophy-winning side. Let's do this. So, this is Brighton inside of Football Manager 2024. You've most likely done a save of them at some point, and as you can see, they don't let you down. They've got great reputation, very good training and youth facilities. The owners love the club, and every season you are guaranteed somewhat of a decent budget. But of course, the focus on this video, under 21 only. And when I say that, I don't mean that we have to sell everyone and, instantly release them. That's not how it's going to work. We are going to try and get the most out of the younger players and make them the key part of this project. And if we sign anyone, they have to be 21 max or under. Now, a few players that I am going to lock in for the first season because I want them to make sure they get off to a great start is going to be Evan Ferguson. This guy is hot or cold in Football Manager. He's either absolutely incredible or he just does nothing and he completely falls off. So I'm hoping we can get the most out of him because this guy is one of their hottest prospects. Another hot prospect is going to be Minte, of course a player that we discussed in the intro alongside of Ferguson. This is a player, again, at the moment, only Sky Bet Championship standard, but if you've used him back home, you know the only thing he really needs to improve on is going to be his finishing, which I feel like we can do. We are going to apply some training to him. But it doesn't stop there because a player I didn't talk about and should have done is going to be Bart Verbruggen. Now, obviously didn't originally come from Brighton, so maybe that's why I left it out a little bit, but I will say Verbruggen is a goalkeeper who I always go after. He's a goalkeeper who will guarantee us the entirety of this rebuild, as long as he doesn't leave, but honestly, he's as good as it comes in terms of young goalkeepers. But just scrolling down the bench, it's not all that we have, guys. It really isn't. We've got some great players here. We've got Julio, for example. Even Rutter we can play because he's only 1 year above that 21, and of course, I'm not going out and signing him. He's already at the club. Obviously, Lamptey's still quite young. Hinchelswood, we discussed him. Danny Welbeck's going to be getting sold quite quickly because he is 33, same as Adam Webster. I will be moving on the older players if and when I can, but I'm not going to release everyone in Season 1, especially when we don't sign any players in Season 1. Milner obviously will go, he is 38, although a legend obviously in the Premier League, but we have got some really good players. João Pedro, one of my favourite players in Football Manager, incredibly versatile, and again, he is pre-signed, so we are going to make use of him. Again, he's only 1 year older than actually the threshold was set for the video, so I don't mind too much. Of course, looking at the other players, 30, 24, not too bad. Matoma, I might actually sell and make it a bit more interesting, get a young winger into the team, or to be fair, we've got multiple young wingers. We've got loads of them. We've got Saramento as well, we've got Valentin Barco, we've got Bonamate, we've got a load of players. Belieber, again, a player who I will say is a personal favourite of mine, a recent signing as well, I believe. This guy is a serious baller. This team has got tons of youngsters, and genuinely, I think we can get it done. We are going to be using the company system because I want to. It's a 4-2-3-1. It's very attacking, and I want to get the most out of these young players. And let's go and see what's on task for us. So on task for us is 3 trophies: the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. And again, we always like to see what they think. The media, it is going to be a 10th place finish. Now, would they predict the same if they knew we were only playing youngsters? They'd probably go even harsher, but little heads up, if you are playing back home, you would have 70 million to spend, so go and spend that if you want to. If you do enjoy the rebuilds, by the way, slap a like on the video right now and subscribe. The editor is absolutely killing these new videos, and hopefully you are enjoying the quality. And as always, if you want the tactic and the rebuild file, go over to that Patreon where you can get also tons of other perks. But let's get into Season 1. Hopefully, the youth shine. So then, right into a final, and the Carabao Cup final, we are going to go 1-0 up with Evan Ferguson, one of our youngsters, and we actually get this done 2-0 inside of 90 minutes. It's beautiful. The FA Cup, you actually got to go quite far away from the final backwards to see where we go out, as I believe it is going to be in the 5th round. And do you know what? I am not going to judge the players because at the end of the day, it was against Liverpool and we are playing a very young side. And at the end of the day, even with a full strength team, Liverpool are at the moment still a big task. The Premier League, however, I'm more than thrilled with our players. I mean, genuinely, what a season. A second place finish, 3 points behind Man City. I will take that any day, considering as well, a lot of young players are in this team. Evan Ferguson and João Pedro, second and third when it comes to the goals. We've got João Pedro in third place with the average rating. Matoma does pick up the assist, which again is a player that I will move on, but he needs to generate a lot of money so that I can afford to potentially bring in either a world-class wonder kid or two fairly decent young players. When it comes to the clean sheets, we're nowhere near the real talk and ranks. And yellow cards, we are going to be rank 1, so it's a little bit of a disappointment in that, but Thirdly does love a challenge. But to be honest with you, looking at the competitions, genuinely, I am really happy with this. A second place finish, of course, the downside to finishing second, and yes, there is a downside, is we are now in the Champions League, which means it's going to be a lot of work for these young players. All I can hope is that, and I'm sure we have, that we've been given a big budget. Bang! Yes, we have. Indeed, a very tasty budget. £90 million. Now, that is a lot of money, especially when you're signing younger players. And the excitement doesn't stop there, because let's go and see who we can sell to generate some more money. So instead of filtering by contract, as I usually do, we're going to filter by age today. Now, realistically, we're going to try and sell anyone that is definitely 30 and above. So that would include Adam Webster, Solly March, Veltman, also Lewis Dunk, Danny Welbeck, James Steele, and of course Milner. The only downside to doing that is apart from Solly March, where he's valued at 25 million, Adam Webster as well at 22, and 7.6 to be fair for Steele, you're not going to get tons and tons of money for these players, probably less than what you're seeing in that right-hand column. But what I will say is there is more money to be made, and looking at this team, of course, let's just put in the best 11 to see who actually played all the games. We can see here João Pedro played a crucial role, okay? 28 and 11 for him, Matoma 12 and 24. Obviously, Bonanate didn't even play for us, but he did have a good season out on loan, which we do love to see. We've also got the likes of, it's not bad to be fair, 10 assists, 8 assists for the fullbacks. It's okay. It's nothing electric, but it gets the job done. And going down to the bench, obviously Evan Ferguson, who I want to discuss big time, 35 goals and 2 assists. That is a remarkable return. We absolutely love to see it. Apart from that, Osman out on loan also scored 7. Apart from that, it's quite a quiet bench. I'll be honest with you. Actually, let's just not ignore him. Minter. Good Minter is coming in with 14 and 13. He was locked in though, so I am expecting them sort of stats from him when you're guaranteed almost every game. But as a first season, to get a rough understanding of what I'm doing with this team, I'm going to take winning a trophy and getting in the top 4. Season 2. So then the first player to leave the team is going to be João Veltman. He is 34 and he does go on a free to the Saudi League, where he stays fit and plays a ton of games, so that is nice to see, but that is one of the older players gone. Another old player and the same age, Lewis Dunk, goes to Manchester United. What a move for him at such a late stage of his career. He goes for 9 million. Now, I will say he's been a Brighton legend since 2008, so let's have a little bit of respect for him. Fair play to Dunk. We also are going to offload Jason Steele to Arsenal, 35 years of age. I imagine a little bit of a backup vibe. He goes for 5.7 million. He plays 1 game and concedes 3. It's not pretty. And we also are going to sell another ageing player in Adam Webster. He goes to Fulham for £16 million. So what I will say is we have generated a fair bit of wonga, a fair bit of money for the older players, which means our budget, well, that budget skyrocketed. Meaning we can start off in style and picking up the best young right-back in the game in Michael Coyote, coming in from, of course, Fiorentina, the Serie A. He comes in and plays every game, 9 assists and 1 goal, drops above a 7.2. He was locked in for the season, and what I will say is this guy is an absolute monster. By far my favourite right-back if you're going for a young right-back who's got potential. He's absolutely incredible. Look at the attributes on him. There is literally no weakness. A bit of a cheaper signing, but nevertheless a good player. Now, looking at his value, you can see hopefully he's had a decent season because we paid 14 and he did again. He had an okay season, a 6.91. It's not setting the league alight, but he has played a lot of games, gained that Premier League experience, and now he's valued at, getting on for triple of what we paid for him. Now, what I will say is, despite the money going up, we're not looking to sell any of these players because our whole theme this video is to try and win everything we can with young players. We're also going to bring in Magassa. Now, this is a player who, again, I have signed in the past, and he can go either way. He's very hot or cold. He come in for 8 million and actually played a lot of games for us and dropped quite an average 6.6. So I will say this is a player that wasn't necessarily coming in to get guaranteed game time, but he does hit the age sort of range. We signed him when he was a little bit younger, and genuinely, I do feel that he can do the job in maybe the cup competitions, but the Champions League, probably not. A luxury signing is going to be Oscar Bob, a very sought-after talent. We signed him at 21, so don't worry. He does come in, of course, from Man City for £50 million. He drops a 7, it's okay. 5 goals, 3 assists. If you want my honest, humble opinion, would I want more? I would want more, but I will say the thing with Oscar Bob in this system is he is not set to one position. He sometimes plays on the right, in the middle, a bit deeper. He's versatile, and although you could have the argument Josh lock him in to a certain position, we've got a lot of talent in them positions, guys. We have to let the youngsters battle it out and see who deserves the first team place. And lastly, a very good wonder kid that is going to be Kabasi, coming in from Barcelona B team, or Barcelona as a whole, for 27 million. And although he doesn't score or assist, he does drop close to a 7 match rating. And this is a sign for the future. He's still only 19 years of age. You can't expect a flawless Premier League season from him. He's still so young, and he still has got so much to offer. And looking at these players we've brought in, opposed to what we have sold, you can see how well we have started in terms of replacing the old with the young. Let's see what happened in the season, though. So then we're going to start off with that Premier League, and do you know what? I'm actually going to take this because we hold our second place, and when you sell so many veteran players that have real big parts to play in a system, you bring in a load of youngsters that, no disrespect to young players, but don't always hit the ground running. They have done very well to maintain a second place finish, which I will take. João Pedro, 31 goals, Julio coming in as a top assister, and Verbruggen also picks up the most clean sheets. So has our centre-back signings, has our defence maybe helped him out a little bit, obviously now being rank 1. Unfortunately for us, we've got 3 players in the yellow cards, being Lepani, Coyote and also Barco, so I will say that's not as nice to see, but we are a bit of a dirty team. We like the odd challenge here or there, but what else did we win, if we won anything? Because at the moment, nothing so far. Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you this season. I'm not going to waste your time because it was a season of nothing. Now, I will say there's small wins in quite big losses. Now, the Champions League, the round of 16, for example, we are going to go out, of course, quite early on against City, but of course we did get past the league path, the league phase, and got the job done. So that is a big win with a very young team. Now, the FA Cup against Norwich City, I just hope we didn't get battered. It was 2-1. That is probably the only disappointment. Tottenham Hotspur, I can accept the defeat in. I am more than happy to breeze past that and move on, cut my losses. That game in the FA Cup, I never want to talk about. Money-wise, we've got 82 million, which again is absolutely incredible because I'm sure there's going to be more players we can go on and sell, more opportunity to bring in more money. And as long as we're giving them budgets, we can bring in a minimum 2 wonder kids a season. Maybe not official wonder kids, but really good young players. But of course, the little test, you can see the players that were actually pretty much locked in for the entire season. Let's go and see who done the business. And it is going to be 10 assists from Coyote and 2 goals at right back. Very interesting for the left-back situation. I imagine he would be on the bench, our other left-back, because that is 0 assists, so that can't be right. We've also got 8 goals and 7 from Baleba in midfield. Again, a player who is developing actually quite well, so that's really nice to see. The value on that, by the way, 64 million great British pounds. We've also got Bonanate, 7 and 9, not too bad there. Matoma, 6 and 5, and João Pedro, 39 and 6. But of course, it's not just about the first team players, because we do pride ourselves on having quite the squad. 15 and 17 from Julio and Cicio on the left-hand side. 1 goal coming in from Powell there, not the greatest. Oscar Bob, 6 and 3. Maybe want to see a little bit more from him in the next season. 3 and 4 for Simon, not too bad. 1 and 2 for Jakob Adair, it's not awful. Valentin Barco, the man that we actually locked in for a lot of these games, comes in and contributes 1 goal and 6 assists. So, I mean, it's okay, but it's not exactly electric. Again, for Valentin Barco, he has got a lot to offer, but it's just about extracting that performance from such a talented player. The rest of the team, though, we will go and have a little look. If we go down to the bottom, of course, we've got 8 and 13 for Jakob Minter. Not too bad there. Hinchelswood also comes in with 1 assist. 7 goals for Evan Ferguson. Not exactly a great season. And with Evan Ferguson, he is competing with João Pedro. I locked him in for the first season, gave him his chance to really dominate that position and lock it in. But of course, he simply can't do that. He's got competition. And looking at this team, I'm already getting quite excited because there are a lot of young players, especially the back line now features some younger players when we lock them in. And this project is something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. hopefully you're enjoying it as much as what I'm having fun making it, recording it, whatever you want to say, because I'm loving it. But let's get into Season 3 and go and make some more signings. So we did have a lot of players going out, but to be honest, not really big enough to talk about one by one. The only real one that is worth talking about is Rutter, who does go out on loan to RC Lens and actually has an okay season. It's not electric, but it's okay. And we spend all of our budget on one of my favourite young players in the world, at the time 21, Kobbie Mainoo, comes in from Manchester United, one of the hottest prospects in the Premier League, and he done a very good job. Above a 7 match rating, 3 goals, 6 assists from midfield. I'll take it any day. This guy is well-rounded, he's 22, he's great for registration, and despite paying 74 million, he's actually valued already more than what we paid. But when I said that is literally all our signings, it was our only signing. You can see again some players. Solly March maybe was worth a mention. Again, he's been at Brighton for a fair bit of time, but didn't exactly set light to anything since we've been here. He's going to go to the Saudi League, and he is on only 30k a week. Surprising. Thought he would have got more sort of money out in there in that league. But overall, I will say, looking at the players going, although Solly March is a big name, we've got players to cover the position. I think we're in a great situation. So the addition of Kobbie's going to help big time. The loss of Rutter going out on loan, obviously we'll see what that sort of impacted, but we've got Ferguson and Pedro. So let's go and see if that did have an impact. Hopefully the Solly March curse doesn't come back to strike. I tell you what, we're going to start off in the Champions League, though, because it was a very good run. The round of 16, we beat RB Salzburg 6-4, so that is some statement to be made. Into the quarterfinals, we beat Inter Milan 4-0. Just to clarify that, and unfortunately the semi-finals, we are going to lose by a couple goals to Real Madrid, but we are improving in that competition, and of course the Champions League is, well, that's the one you want to win, really, alongside the Prem. The FA Cup final was a bit of the Matoma show, I'll be honest with you, because as you can see, he runs through the entire Tottenham backline to make it 1-0 in 12 minutes. We're then going to win the ball back now down the right-hand side, plenty of time in, and again, the Matoma show. 2-0 inside of 32 minutes. It's now going to be Oscar Bob down the left, driving at everyone into Matoma, who makes it 3. The Matoma show. It's getting ridiculous now. I will try and sell him to obviously make it a bit not realistic, but a little bit better for the overall project. They do get a goal back, though, to be fair, but we wrap it up 4-1 in the 70th minute. The Carabao Cup, Man City are going to be your champions, and we are going to be going out in the quarterfinals against Crystal Palace, which of course leaves us with only the Premier League to win if we do want to do the double. And we have done the double. Premier League champions inside of Season 3. We absolutely love to see it, and I will say it's quite close. Liverpool a few points behind, 6 points behind, Chelsea a point behind them, Newcastle very close as well. And the interesting thing, no top goal scorers for us, apparently. No top goal scorers. Oscar Bob is the best player in the Premier League. Coyote, our right back, the third best player. Verbruggen still picks up the most clean sheets. And we've still got 2 players in the yellow cards. But we're Premier League champions, and that does mean 2 trophies in 1 season is a massive, massive win for us. I will take it any day. And I imagine the budget's going to be nice. Oh, it's nice. 94, in fact, £109 million to spend before we even sell anyone. We're going to try and sell Matoma, cash in on him now because he is getting older and older and older. This is a ridiculous budget, and one that I can definitely work with. So fair play to Brighton, because they're backing their manager big time. Now, tactics-wise, let's go and see at our best 11, see what happened, see who played. It is going to be a bit of a switch up because obviously, well, Rutter didn't actually play for us. So let's drag that out instantly. Evan Ferguson with 21 and 4, Matoma 15 and 16, João Pedro 38 and 14. He probably is our best player. What a machine. 6 and 3 for Branate inside of AP. That's pretty decent. Kobbie Mainoo 4 and 10. It's okay. Coyote 11 assists. Left back with 15 assists. Baleba 1 and 2. A bit more of a quieter season, but maybe Kobbie also did occupy a couple of those games in the DLP. You've got 31 and 3. Julio 8 and 6. Rutter 9 and 3 out on loan. 21 and 13 for Oscar Bob. This is the Oscar that I know. Incredible to see. 12 and 12 for Simon there. Not too shabby at all. Matt's coming in with 7 and 9. Anyone else? Not really. Jakob Minte lacking game time. The same with Valentin Barco as well, I would imagine. And that is because when I get through to a certain part of the rebuild, I let people battle out for their spots. And don't get me wrong, they are young players, and maybe I should lock them in more. But do you know what? We've got a lot of young players that are in this 11 now. We're doing well. Players that obviously are now, for example, 24, but have been with us for 3 years. So they were 21. And what I will say is, this is now looking like a team that, well, literally, obviously can win the Premier League. It is really good to see, and this is all done in 3 seasons. Once again, be sure to hit that like button because I think we're cooking up a storm here. But let's go over to season 4, and I guess logically, the next thing's probably the Champions League, right? Is that too cocky? Only time's going to tell. So the worst thing about the Minter situation was the fact that actually he did get loaned out halfway through the season. And he did go to Middlesbrough, to be fair, and score 3 and 4. So that's actually quite poor. He played a ton of games and done nothing. I tell you what, I'm actually quite worried for Minter because he's dropped current ability, and do you know what? It's not looking good. We are going to cash in on Matoma. He is now 31, and can you guess how much we got? 2 seconds. Maybe not. £40.5 million. And I tell you what, that is a great bit of business, of course. We got him here for virtually nothing, and we have made purely £40 million. He's done very well for us over the entirety of this rebuild, but at the age of 31, I think it's time for a youngster to fill them shoes. And although it's not going to fill his shoes directly, it does now mean that Pedro can play on the left, alongside of our other wingers that were originally on the right. Ronnie Bargi is going to come in, and this boy's been cooking in this save, because I can tell you this for now, a great season for starters at Real Sociedad. They have made a lot of money, £40 million in one season, but he come in for us and scored 20, put up 11 assists, and that is in the Premier League alone. The Premier League alone, and just look at him. He's an absolute baller, still only 22, was 21, 15 acceleration, 14 pace, pretty quick on the ball, good agility, good balance, good anticipation, good dribbling, good finishing, immaculate composure. Again, he's probably the only weakness at the moment is that he's only really comfortably on the right-hand side, but that can be changed. The guy looks incredible. We're also going to sign Miles Lewis-Skelly, coming in, of course, from Arsenal for £40 million. He doesn't play a lot of games, and that is because he is definitely a player that has been brought in for the future. At the moment, he is a backup player. Now, I'm not going to let him rot away at the club. If he doesn't get any game time next season, I will, of course, loan him out. Or, of course, if you are going to get the rebuild file, you can also do that yourselves. But looking at this player, he's got a lot to offer. Very well-rounded, but at the moment, not quite first-team quality. We're also going to turn to Barcelona and pick up Marc Bernal. Again, a wonder kid player who can play DM or central midfield. 30 million, very similar to Skelly. Players that have been brought in for the future. Not directly now, not going to play a ton of games now. And you probably will see them loaned out at some point to make sure they are staying up to their current ability. Now, what I will say is these signings are perfect for those that are going to carry on the Patreon and get this tactic and the rebuild file. We are giving you some of the best wonder kids possible for your enjoyment. Now, this midfield, these two in midfield could easily dominate in 5 or 6 years. So make sure if you are carrying on, you're training them right, you're loaning them out, you develop them well, because you're going to have a serious powerhouse. But with Matoma gone, Skelly, Bernal brought in, and of course Ronnie Bargi, let's get into Season 4 and see what we can do. So the Premier League, unfortunately, not back-to-back champions. I will say, though, João Pedro's still carrying the bulk load. Arsenal get the job done with a 9-point gap. Fair play to them, the mighty Gunners. They deserve one league title. We've had our moment, and hopefully we can wrap up Season 5 back on the top step. It would be nice. Apart from João Pedro, though, Bargi picks up the third most amount of assists, but other than that, it really is nothing in our favour. So in the Premier League, it's not really our year for individual player quality. Hopefully we've seen some better performances in the Cups. So Wembley, the FA Cup final, a 1-0 start against Manchester United from the penalty spot. Kobbie Mainoo, the former United man, into Pedro, into Bargi to make it 2 in 71 minutes, and to wrap it up 3-0, João Pedro. The same story can't be told in the Community Shield, as we are going to lose by 1 goal, and that to be lost against Liverpool. Wembley again, United again, in the Carabao Cup final, where we get off to a great start here, and it is going to be none other than Ronnie Bargi inside of 7 minutes. And look at this for a little goal here. A great set piece to make it 2 in 55, and we actually find ourselves 3-0 up again. What a finish and what a bit of play. United on this occasion do get a consolation, but it's 2 finals and it's 2 trophies against the mighty Reds. The Champions League, we don't win, unfortunately. We do get to the semi-finals, where we do get quite heavily beaten by Inter Milan. A team I believe we beat, 4-0 a couple seasons ago? Shows how different the seasons can be. But we do wrap it up with a couple of trophies. Now, I'll be honest, if I was playing as an Arsenal, a City, something like that, I would be quite annoyed because, you know, the Premier League lost. But at the end of the day, we're still bringing trophies back with this young team, and that's all that I can ask for. When you're building a young team, like Manchester United in real life, for example, you're not even expected to win anything. So it's just an added bonus sort of into the ranks. Now, If I'm being honest, going into Season 5, my heart is set on one thing, and that is the Champions League. We've won the Premier League. We've obviously won these cups now a couple of times. The Community Shield, I don't think we have one. I would take it. I'm not going to cry if we lose it. The Champions League is the main focus. So hopefully we can get that done, because that would feel like I've really achieved something then. Money-wise, we have got 84 million, which, you know, is a fair budget. They've been nothing but fair for us in terms of money. Really, really solid. And genuinely, I think we can go out and maybe spend this on one big player, maybe two, not average, but decent players. I might go for one big player, to be honest, and hopefully he can be the Champions League winner. And unfortunately, in my head, I already know who I want, because I've seen him available for a scouting report, and it is going to be a striker, because the idea behind this, let's filter by the best 11. So ideally here, we can have João Pedro out on the left. I'm not going to ruin the video. We have got an idea for a striker up here, because I mean, at the moment, for example, Evan Ferguson, he's doing okay. He's scoring 19 goals, 4 assists. It's decent, but it is not like Champions League and Premier League winning level in this game. Pedro can go on the left, where he put up a great season. 36 and 8. Of course, he was playing a striker in this season. 8 and 10 for Bonanate in midfield. 28 and 18 for Ronnie Bargi, an instant impact. 8 and 10 for the left back. 5 and 13 for the right back. Kobbie Mainoo comes in as well, 5 and 5. Baleba, although he's actually developing quite nicely, he's not putting up loads and loads of stats. 10 assists from Mats Wiefer as well. 10 and 12 for Oscar Bob, a decent season. 12 and 11 for Julio. Anything else? Simon, 9 and 12. It's okay. It's not immaculate, but it's decent. But between me and you, I already know who I want up front, and you'll know who it is the second you see it. You know who it is the second you see it. But it's going to cost me a lot of money, and if I don't win the Champions League, I'm going to feel like one clumsy individual. But let's get into the last season and make this signing, hopefully. Oh boy, I'm excited. And that signing is going to be Endrick. Now, hear me out, because I know it's a big gamble. Firstly, we'll talk money. It took all my transfer budget, plus a little bit more in instalments. I believe 50 mil paid up front, the rest in instalments. But look at the return in the Premier League alone. 38 games, 25 goals, 3 assists, 7.14 on that average rating. And look at his attributes. He looks like an absolute monster and an absolute demon. Now, what I will say is, with this player, that he was brought in to win me a Champions League, and do you know how much pressure that puts on a 22-year-old shoulders? It is absolutely ridiculous. So let's see if he can hack that pressure. I'm not expecting it, but you never know in Football Manager. So, Champions League aside, we have actually gone over and won the Premier League, and we've battered them. We've battered everybody. City, United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, have all the smoke, because we have done a great job. We still can't knock Erling Haaland off the top podium spot, but Endrick is going to be close behind with 25 and João Pedro, which means my wonderful plan of Pedro on the side, Endrick up top, clearly did happen. Also, Bargi obviously was playing a lot of games, as he picks up the second and most of assists. So what I will say is, we have now in my head got a front three of João Pedro, Bargi and Endrick. I might have completed Football Manager. Let's get into the Champions League. If we've won that, I might have a meltdown. So a PSG team that also was strengthened by signing Saka and Musiala go 1-0 down to Endrick inside of 11 minutes, which is a very good sign of things to come, as an injured Pedro stays on the pitch, and oh dearie me, an own goal from PSG there, 2-0 in 17 minutes, and PSG looking pretty shaky now. The left back going through, and Ronnie Bargi is going to make it 3 in 34 minutes, make it 4 from João Pedro in 50 minutes, and to wrap up the Champions League final in 5-0 fashion, it's Endrick. He's done it. We're also going to go over and smash Arsenal in that Carabao Cup final. I don't think Endrick was the star of the show, so unfortunately the excitement can't continue in this competition, but we scored 3 goals in extra time. We are that team. And into the Community Shield final, and guess who got the winner in the 95th minute? You can probably guess, can't you? It's Endrick, our king. In fact, the only thing we didn't win is going to be an exit in the 5th round of the FA Cup against Tottenham, but I really couldn't care. We've won the Premier League, the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, the Community Shield. This club info, I mean, the reputation's now gone up to a bang 5 out of 5, and we have added so many trophies into this cabinet. It might be one of the best rebuilds we've done with this challenge as well, and what we've done in terms of a challenge, just to show you what squad I've left you with if you are going to carry on, we have done such a good job. I mean, look at that team. Let's actually see what they say the best 11 is. So it's going to be Bob in there as well. But look at this front four. You have got João Pedro, Bob, Bargi, Endrick, Baleba, Mainoo. I got, obviously the centre-backs are the older centre-backs by default. So if you are going to carry on, you always sort of sometimes ask my recommendations. Sign some more young centre-backs and a left-back, then you've literally got a wonder kid team in your hands. Simple as that. Hopefully you've got money, you've got £93 million, a little bit more actually I saw there. But to finish it off, what a season. 18 assists for the right back, 15 for the left back. The midfield's always been quite low in terms of numbers, but they clearly are getting the job done. 28 and 21 for Ronnie Bargi, 5 and 12 for Oscar Bob, João Pedro 35 and 21, and Endrick nearly scoring double of what Evan Ferguson did, and that's why I brought him in. It wasn't a bias thing. I knew he could get the job done. What a performance. 2 and 6 from Ferdy, 6 and 3 from Julio, 16 and 10 from Bonanate as well. Can't forget that. 6 and 12 for Mats Weaver. Again, a very, very good season. I think the only disappointment out of this entire rebuild is Jakob Minter. I mean, look at him. He is really, really fallen off. And you know what? It doesn't really matter because we have got a lot of better options when it comes to the wings. And what a rebuild that has been. Finishing off in style, finishing off with a ridiculous team, and finishing off with decent budgets as well. That is a very good rebuild. Hopefully you have enjoyed. I will say I am now back on Twitch and streaming regularly. A Red Bull series where we win every single trophy with all Red Bull teams. Red Bull themselves did come in and say hello. So it's a massive series, which is also going to be posted on this channel in a storytelling format. But if you do enjoy rebuilds and everything as well, I do them live as well. So come on over and see me on the Twitch. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.